Hello, everyone. Welcome in. This is uh, Coach's Corner, and I know JC's got listed as Coach's player interviews down there. We are brought to you by the Sports Affiliation. Today, we have the return of Kory Curtis coming on today, kind of checking up with him, kind of see what he's been up to last year or so, and kind of where the journey's kind of led him. So, how are you doing tonight, Kory?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a little bit of a crazy day here. I took a little bit of a drive back home, and I thought it was gonna, be like 35 minutes. Ended up being like about an hour because it was dark and pouring down rain. But it's
Jeez.
always a good time.
Oh, I'm glad you made it
Uh,
safe. Thanks for having me on.
no problem. It's a pleasure to have you back on once again. I would say a returning face, but the last time when we talked to you is on the spaces, so we didn't actually see your face during that time. So, kind of the point today, we're just going to be going over kind of like what's been all going on with you for like the past year for kind of the people that don't know a lot about. You spent some time at Ohio State as kind of a walk on over there, scout team quarterback. I went over to Bryant, had some success there, then went over to Gannon and played 2 years there with some pretty good stats overall. If there's anything else you kind of like to add to that, expanding on that a little bit more, we can do that right away as well.
I know you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Yeah, that's pretty much what was my journey so far.
Yeah, that's the quick version of it. At least we'll put it that
Yeah.
way. If people want to get a little bit more detailed into some of that stuff, you can go back to the time when we talked on the Twitter space as well. But I think mainly like right now, because the last time that I personally talked to you for that time, it was like right before the USFL draft when they were doing some college players getting drafted in that. We thought maybe there's a chance that you could get drafted in that, and unfortunately, that was not the case. And then obviously between then and now, the USFL, the XFL combined over to the UFL or yeah, I think I threw an extra letter in there, UFL. So kind of an interesting process, even if that would have ended up happening, kind of would all happen there because as a league that I follow very closely, there's been a lot of interesting stories that have kind of come out from there, guys. Some of these guys aren't even known that they're being cut ahead of time before when they've been cut and everything else like that. But that's without me getting too far off rambling, kind of like what all has gone on for you like over the past year. I know you've gone to like a lot of the XFL showcases, so kind of just highlight some of that stuff for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to a couple of the XFL showcases. Went to the one in Atlanta. Went to one in Arlington. I had a CFL workout in Chicago. Um, had a couple other workouts. Worked out. I'm working out with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the 23rd.
Ooh.
Um, and then that's all that's going on. I signed with an AFL team. And then like the summer, I got to throw with like a bunch of NFL guys, which was pretty cool. Got to, hang around them and reassure myself that I'm there. I'm pretty close to there. I just need somebody willing to take a shot on me.
And for Winnipeg too, that's a team that's been pretty well respected in the CFL over the last 10 plus years. They with all the success that they've had too, so that's great to hear there. First of all. And then, like, when you're talking about throwing to some of those NFL guys, is there anybody that really stands out from you that you've thrown to, or do you have like a favorite guy that you've thrown to in that time?
Yeah. So I mean, Devin Tompkins was one of my receivers in high school,
Mhm.
and he plays for the Bucks. He's a kick returner there, so I love throwing him the ball. Because we obviously have the chemistry and everything like that. MVS is another guy that was there. Nelson Aguilar, Alec Pierce. There's quite a bit of guys that go there. I love learning from Mike White and Chris Eladiquin. We threw this summer at USF quite a bit.
Mhm.
So love learning from those guys, getting to learn the ins and outs without actually being on a team. So
Mhm.
I'm ready when I get there.
Oh, that's great for sure. And then, like, kind of speaking, like when you go into like all these XFL like showcases, done some of these private workouts, is there anybody like any like major feedback, like, or kind of commonalities between like teams that maybe like things that you kind of that stands out from their perspective that they think you kind of need to work on, or like that you've been really trying to work on over like the last year or so?
So the first thing that like teams tell me is like they see I'm a big guy, so they question my ability to move. And I actually didn't really get any feedback up until probably about a month ago. Like they're pretty like quiet
Mhm.
about like what's going on. Like, and I built a relationship with Coach DiFilippo, and I'm like, hey, Coach, like what's
Mhm.
going on? And he was like, honestly, he's like, you're like a fringe guy, like you're really close, you're good enough to play, but no one's taking a shot. And they question your ability to move. So that's something I've been working on. And at the grid camp, he had told me that I was able to showcase that and everything like that. So from now on, that's something I'm gonna have to be able to show. I'm gonna put together like a highlight of me being able to make plays on the run and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, I don't think anybody's really questioning like your arm strength. That's always been something that's kind of been on display. So it's just, and if it's not, especially when a lot of your tapes kind of come from like the D2 level, even too, that maybe, there's not as much tape readily available and people aren't looking at it quite as much, then maybe they're not seeing that quite as often too. And then, if, you're going out to these showcases and then some of the people are there, some of the people see you, and then they kind of get, like a little bit of perspective into it a little bit more, kind of helps you out. But then, not everybody's there at the end of the day too.
Absolutely. I'll be honest with you guys. That happened with me with the Vikings. I talked to the quarterback coach. He signed off on me. Talked to the assistant GM. He liked me. And then the GM liked me, and then the head coach didn't sign off on me. And so it's one of those things that you got to get all those guys to like you, especially at the quarterback position. They can't be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was talking to them for a little bit, and it's one of those things that just didn't end up working out.
Yeah, and sometimes even like at the end of it too, when you're talking like, like a third string quarterback, a practice squad guy, sometimes at the end of the day, it's almost who to kind of get that shot on the end of the day for better or worse,
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something I think I've been trying to get better as, like networking.
Mm-hmm.
I like on the field, I'm comfortable around teammates. I'm comfortable. I'll talk to them and be like very like a leader and stuff like that, and be like I can be friends with anybody. But I think that I've had to come out of my shell, and I think it's more of like I've matured a lot since the draft and all that has happened. I think that's helped me too. I think it's kind of like something that God has allowed me to grow as a man, too, for my opportunity whenever it comes.
So let me just ask this too, kind of like at the end of the day, what is kind of the one driving force trying to keep you going, obviously? Because like some people might get into your situation and then they just be, like, okay, well, it hasn't quite happened for me yet. Maybe I'm going to do something else, and like kind of has those thoughts come across for you, kind of what keeps you motivated and driving there. And then kind of at the end of the day, what ultimately is like the end goal, and what would you consider success at the end of the day too? Like if you get to like a certain level or anything.
Yeah. What keeps me going, I think, is more or less is like my love for the game. Like I love football. Like I would play. Like I know this is gonna sound maybe terrible. I'd play for free. I just want to play at the highest level, and like because I know I can do it. I have film of me playing against the Ohio State guys. All 11 are starters in the NFL right now. One's the highest paid player in the whole NFL at the end. So it's like I know I can do it. I've played against them. I've done it. And then I want to be able to prove the people wrong. And then also, like, most importantly, have a platform to like speak about Jesus and be able to help people. I think that's something that like is put on my heart, and that's something I want to be able to do.
So like with that too, like what? So like, I guess I'm still trying to like figure out how to exactly word this, but like, what would you consider like successful? Like, if you go, let's just say you go play in the arena league and you have like put up some pretty good numbers there, but let's say, I don't want this to be the case, but like, let's say that's just how it is. And like, you just play there for a couple of years and you do really well. And that's kind of how it is at the end of the day. Would you consider that successful then? Or is it only getting to like the NFL level, or kind of how's that shake out for you, I guess?
No, like definitely, I want to play in the NFL. I think my whole journey and everybody's journey has like a purpose, and I think I have to be where my feet are. Like that's something that like I definitely have to be where my feet are. And right now, I'm signed to an AFL team, so I want to be the best AFL player. I want to win the MVP, and I think if I'm successful at the level where I'm at, that will make me happy. And like if I get the opportunity to play and I'm not good enough, like fine, but like that's not the case. So like I just think if I just think if I compete and be able to touch somebody's life or touch people's life. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. I think that will make it worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for everybody, like when I just talk about that, is like everybody's definition of success and kind of like the end goal for everybody's going to be a little bit different too. But obviously, you want to be successful at whatever level that you do ultimately end up competing on, and then kind of being able to take that next jump and then kind of go from there too. And everybody's journey is a little bit different too. Obviously, you go into 3 different colleges, but even look at Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner ended up being one of the better quarterbacks you could argue in NFL history, and he played in NFL Europe. He got cut off practice squads for a couple different teams. He went to the Arena League, and then Trent Green got hurt, and then he just kind of landed in the right situation. So, a lot of times it's a little bit about who you know, and a lot of getting into that right situation too. And every situation that's out there might not be the right for you, or maybe you're not the right fit for somebody. But like at the end of the day, when that right situation does come up, I think that it's going to be a really good case for you and that you're going to succeed in that situation though.
I appreciate it. And like, I think this has allowed me the opportunity to meet cool people like Kurt Warner. Like I've been able to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to like pick his brain about some things and get onto his website with him and that type of thing. I think like any level has purpose. So like absolutely, like I can be purposeful at the AFL level and do what I'm willing to do, and hopefully my journey takes me further. But if not, then that's what it is, and then I'll just start my life. Football's allowed me to get enough education where
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to take care of my family. And that's the unfortunate part is I've turned down job offers, but like I know
Mm-hmm.
it's like I believe in football, and my wife believes in me, so I think that's one of those things that will make it work.
Oh, for sure. Is there any like other work that you're kind of doing right now on the side of football, just trying to do some of that financial commitment or no?
Yeah, I coach on the side
Mm-hmm.
on the weekdays. I coach. I have quite a few kids now, so I
Mm-hmm.
during the week I coach those kids and try to pour into them and invest in them right now. So that's really what I'm doing.
Definitely for sure, and that's always a pretty interesting experience in working with some of the younger kids too. Me myself, I recently opened a baseball facility, so I've been doing a lot of that myself too. So I know kind of how that all works out. So
Definitely.
definitely, definitely good there, and just kind of share some of what you've been taught, some of the things that you've learned over the years, and then pass that along at the same time too. Um, I was trying to think where I wanted to go next exactly, but you know, speaking about like the AFL opportunity that you have now and signing with that team, can you talk a little bit of kind of how that all came about and kind of a little bit more about that just in general?
Yeah. So I was invited to throw at this grid camp here in Orlando, and it was the second one that I was invited to, and I was and by the grace of God, it was able to be taken care of and stuff like that. But I went there and like I was throwing, and I was really trying to impress this one coach, and I guess I got the attention of Coach Siegfried, and he was the former commissioner of the NAL, I believe. And he said that he just like loved my leadership and stuff like that.
Mhm.
He said I was throwing like no look passes and being able to fit the ball in tight windows, and he said I kind of like caught his eye, and so he wasn't actually even looking for a quarterback, and then he ended up clicking right away and built a good relationship. And he's signed one of my receivers from my college, which was amazing. So just a blessing for sure.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, he wasn't looking for a quarterback. So does that mean like you're coming in right away to like a competition and everything else like that even?
Absolutely. And it's like at the
Mhm.
professional level. So obviously
Mhm.
everything's like a competition, but I'm not worried. I feel like I've put in the work, I've put in the time and the effort that I think that my ability will take over at the end of the day. I have a lot to learn,
Mhm.
obviously, about arena football that's way different, but it's something that I'm ready for. He's been helping me out a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a different game there too. Does Arena have the running starts too or not or right
Uh,
now?
the AFL has one, so it's not like the IFL has two running starts.
So one of the receivers can get a running start essentially. And then the IFL has two, and then like the CFL, I believe, has two. So it's it's definitely a different game, well, especially when you do that based on what the wide receivers can do. And then even you talk to some of the guys that play like DB over there too. Like you got a guy
Yeah,
running full speed, getting a head start on you too, and definitely opens things up a little bit.
read routes, so it's like you can't really be wrong. You just got to be on the right page to everybody else. But I mean, Kurt said like that allowed him to think the windows in the NFL were huge, whereas a lot of people when they
Mhm.
go to the NFL, they're like, oh man, these are a lot smaller. So
Mhm.
I think maybe my pass aligning that way to be able to help me at the next level, be able to help somebody else.
Yeah, even with that running start though, I wonder, just like how much that could affect the timing too. You're used to like a certain timing and a guy being in a certain place at a certain time, then maybe they're there a little bit quicker than you think initially too. And I think a lot of that probably going to practice and just repetitions and getting used to guys though.
Yeah, I just feel like if it's man coverage, I feel like there's no way a guy can be able to cover somebody running full speed at him full. Like it's a two-way go. I don't understand how you would even stop that. Like, so we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I have a lot to learn about the game. It's different, but I'm excited for it.
So when does the season start up for that?
Camp starts April 1st, so I'll be there April 1st in Odessa, and then our first game is on the 28th of April, I think it is.
Okay, so that's right around the corner then.
I think it's like 50 days. Yeah, it's pretty close.
Is there anything extra special that you're kind of doing for the start of that season at all?
Not really. I mean, our coaches like came down and like helped me learn the playbook and try to get the timing and like work on that type of stuff. So that was really cool. But really, I'm just trying to stay in shape. Trying to lose a little bit of weight, get a little bit faster. Obviously, trying to just get a competitive edge. So that's what I've been working on.
Oh, for sure. And you said one of your receivers signed too. Is that on the same team as you?
Yes, one of my receivers signed with our team. KB. He played with me again, and he was number 1 on my highlight tape. I don't know if you've seen it. He's pretty good.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think that was the guy you're kind of talking about quite a bit the last time too.
Yeah, he can play. I mean, I just don't understand. I know people don't think it's like at the Division II level, but like I said last time, because of the transfer portal, a lot of the Division I guys are having to transfer down. It's a lot better talent.
Yeah, the transfer portal's made a really big impact both ways for guys moving up and for guys moving down. I know, God, I think it was Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl. He was talking about like the FCS level only had like, what was it, like 17 or 18 guys at the combine this year. Like it was ridiculous, like how low the percentage was. Because a lot of those guys have been kind of like bumping up and everything too. Let's see. So we did have a comment down here from Mace. What was the first thing you look at or notice about a defense when scouting the upcoming opponent?
So the first thing I do is I get like a breakdown cut-ups of like I'll do like 1st and 10, 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 2nd and medium, 3rd, et cetera, et cetera. And then I try to break down the percentages. If like at Ohio State we had a GA that broke it down, but again I was the GA and the quarterback that had to break it down. So I was able to do that part of it, and it helped me out a ton. So it wasn't just reading; I was actually having to identify everything, and I was able to pick up on the tendencies a lot better too of the defensive coordinator and of the players. So that's one of the things. And then after that, see where they bring pressure from, how they bring pressure, how they disguise things. But yeah,
we're so like in your time at like Gannon, did you have kind of a little bit of freedom there to, make those protection alignments and kind of adjust as you seen fit?
Yeah. So I called 90%, like about 90% of the plays at the line of scrimmage. So I was given the formation. I kind of just did a couple hand signals, called the shifts. If it was over, under, front, depending on if it's a team that brought pressure from the boundary or the field. So I was able to slide the protection, 3-man, 4-man, 5-man, and then be able to get the ball to my playmakers. So I was blessed with a coach that gave me the freedom to do that.
And that's definitely a great thing especially to have experience with too, headed into, like the pro level, just because there's some guys out there that don't have that at the end of the day, or they only have done like a little bit of it, or they could only do like they could only do X if Z was presented, or like a lot of different situations and limitations to it at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. So like I could get to the line of scrimmage, and if I knew okay, they have single high coverage here, I could run a pass play, or I could zone it out to the boundary. I could call pin and pull. It depends on if it's over and under front. So he allowed me I could do whatever I wanted pretty much. And I was thankful. My junior year, I wasn't so good. I wasn't amazing at it, but I learned a lot. And then I was more, even with the play calling, I guess, the audibles and stuff like that. My senior year.
Mm-hmm. What do you think like the biggest thing that you learned over like the last year is?
Patience. Getting a no is pretty hard on like your like ego or pride. And then just realizing who your support system is and how much they have your back and keep pushing you and how much they believe in you is like one of those things that like you don't really have to learn until times get tough. And it's like a mental battle because it's like it is. Like I mean, when you know you're there, you know you're good enough. You practice with the guys, you throw with these guys, and then it's like you're not getting your shot. And it's like I'm happy for them; they're my friends. But then it's like, dang, that stinks. So then it's good to have a good support system and to mature.
Well, even that goes back to a little bit at the end of the day, kind of like who you know. So if you're throwing to this guy every day, and then he's all of a sudden gets the shot somewhere and signs somewhere too, and then let's just say the quarterback goes down, or they sign like with a different team, or there's always changes in situations too. Like a need arises, and they're like, "Hey, you guys know anybody that might be it?" And then that kind of is one of those opportunities that could present itself as well.
Definitely. So it's about who you know, exactly what you said.
At the end of the day, more and more, it seems like it's becoming that way, for better or worse.
Yeah. And like the coaches I know are either on their way out or like the person that would stick his neck out for me the most had a hard time in the NFL without saying any names. Like, so it's like, it's kind of tough in that regard.
But it's one of those things, like at the end of the day, you're still going out there, you're trying to throw as much as you can, you're trying to get it in front of as many people as you can, because at the end of the day, if you can just leave that impression on one person, even if you're talking like you said a little bit earlier with the Vikings, where maybe 3 out of the 4 people signed off. Well, let's just say that quarterback coach goes and gets an offensive coordinator job next year, and then he can get that last person to sign off on it. That's, at the end of the day, it could be the opportunity that presents itself too,
Yeah. And then it's like the coaching pool is like an ever wondering thing. Like you just said, like the guy that liked me for the Steelers got fired. So it's like, then it's like just waiting and seeing where he is at, where he goes. So it's tough.
Yeah, just a lot of different things and moving parts all the time though too. And like at the end of the day, I think I mentioned this a little bit last time we talked too, is there's so many different leagues out there. There's so many opportunities. So if you want to keep playing, you want to get more tape out there, there's always that opportunity to do so as well.
Definitely. And I'm gonna, because I'm itching to play. I don't care. I just want to play ball.
Yeah. And I think, what was it? It was a couple months back you signed with another team, correct?
In the IFL.
Is it so? Can I ask like what kind of happened with that you didn't follow through on that, or that?
That's fine.
I'm not gonna say that you didn't follow through. That opportunity didn't work out, I guess, is probably a better way to phrase it.
So I talked about it with my agent, and my agent explained to me that the AFL is more. It's like a higher league. They have more connections. Their games are going to be on NFL Network and Amazon Prime, I guess. So it's one of those things that will be able to be broadcasted. They play in bigger cities, and then at the end of the day, the pay is better to help my family, to help take care of me and my wife and my animals. So it's like one of those things that you kind of have to take everything into account. I was willing to play for $250 a game, but that just makes it hard. I just want an opportunity, and so then a better opportunity presented itself, and I had a connection with that coach, and I ended up taking the chance on it.
Okay. And was there like a certain, because I know there was like a little bit of gap in time between the two. Was there like a certain point like where you made that decision?
So I bought the flight. I was supposed to be there last week for the IFL, but I ended up signing a month ago with the AFL. So like I called the coach of the IFL and, hey coach, like I wanted to make sure I did everything the right way to not burn bridges and stuff like that. So I talked to him and we talked through it, and he agreed it was a better situation. So he said the door's open if I want to come back and that type of stuff. But he just wanted to let me know that he wishes me luck and stuff like that. So it was like no hard feelings, and he agreed with the decision. He obviously tried to talk me into staying, but then he's like, you know what, like it's a good situation. Like I'm proud of you, that stuff like that. He was really cool about it.
That's good to hear, for one, and then just the fact that you did have the opportunity to, go there, and then both to the AFL as well. So it worked out,
Mm-hmm. And like, if I could have played for both, I would have. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just playing ball, but they overlap, and so
Mhm.
then I have to go with the league that's more of a feeder league to the UFL to try to
Mhm.
work my way up. If that's what the plan was, trying to think long term.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. So obviously the XFL and the USFL combined now, but I think the XFL had a little bit of a agreement with the IFL, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
remember correctly,
Yeah.
where they had a little bit of overlap there. But you said IFL, I think, was starting up pretty soon, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think they
Mhm.
start next week or 2 weeks from now, something like that. I
Mhm.
know they're in camp right now.
Mhm. So, yeah, I know. I was kind of looking forward to that one because, like, when I saw that you signed, I'm like, well, this team plays like over in Green Bay, and like, I'm not that far from Green Bay. I'm like, well, if you play over there, I'll go catch out a game, and everything too, because it's like not that
Yeah.
far, But
Pretty,
hopefully everything works out with the AFL though.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mhm. Or who knows? It sounds like you got a couple other opportunities that might present themselves as well. So, how would you? So, like, let me think of how I want to word this though too, just because
Good.
like the AFL is coming up, but say you go throw for, I think you said Winnipeg was coming up where you're kind of throwing for them. What happened? So like, how do you kind of weigh that versus like the AFL at the end of the day?
Um. So first off, I talked to me and my wife would talk about it, but then we would
Mhm.
like. She's great at giving me the pros and cons of everything. We talk through the entire thing. But first, I would like to see the quarterback room.
Mhm.
What type of like, how is it? Obviously, I've looked at it now where I know that they have pretty much a guy that's the highest paid player in the whole CFL. Like that, I know the situation, stuff like that, and
Mhm.
it is a higher league. But like, am I going to be able to play? Am I going to be able to showcase myself to try to get to where I want to get to? And then I would pray about it, and then um, see where it takes me.
Yeah. And I mean, typically when most guys go up to the CFL, they usually sit for a year or two, kind of adjust to the game and everything else like that too. That's a lot of kind of what people talk about a lot with that league. But at the same time, they kind of got this interesting aspect up there too, because I cover a little bit like CFL from a DFS perspective and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
like the quarterbacks that they got out of there, they've had a lot of guys that have been around a long time up there, but a lot of those guys are kind of starting to age out. Whether we talk about Winnipeg, Zach Collaros is up there. He'd be probably an interesting guy to learn from, even at the end of the day too. And Travis Kelce stuck his neck out for him because he was this college quarterback time and time again. And he's like, this guy's good enough to play in the NFL, but he's just kind of stuck around up there because he really enjoys it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of a lot of him, Trevor Harris, some of these other guys, they're getting up there in age, and then like a guy like Jeremiah Masoli, he's up there in age and he's had two significant injuries now. So there is some opportunities to start presenting themselves up there too, whether, that is something that ultimately ends up happening for you or not. But there
Definitely,
is
and it's
definitely.
such a different game.
Mhm.
I know I have a couple friends from Ohio State that's like asked if I can come. Um, they like told me they're just like sent me like screenshots of their coaches, like tell them, hey, you need to look at this guy. I know like Austin Mack, he had
Mhm.
a great year this year. He asked if I could come, and I'm like, hey, tell your coach to send me a contract, and I'll be there. And then so nothing really came from that, but I just enjoy playing there. I know it's a different game, but like
Mhm.
it's a huge field, and humbly, I don't think I've found somebody that has a strong arm than me. So I think that I would love that.
Yeah, it's definitely a different aspect too, just because you talk about just the field being bigger, and then you like a lot of it's just that extra guy too. They say
Yeah,
when you're just like reading the defense, because like you're so used to like 11 being there, and then all of a sudden there's this 12th guy that's just kind of there that you're not really looking for, and then they just kind of pop up though.
definitely. I know that would be such a like. It's the thing with like the AFL. The coverages are not as hard to learn
Hmm.
because there's only like 6 people. So it's like okay, they're either clouding it's a man or they're playing cover three.
Hmm.
Pretty much, or it's like 2 man. But in
Hmm.
the CFL, they could be playing cover three, cover six, cover two to this side, four to this side. It's like like that's still cover six, but like they could be cut a ton of different
Yeah,
covers. So it's just weird.
there's a lot more like cover 5 in there.
So it's like odd.
which is something you don't usually see everywhere else. But that's a story. That's a whole different story for another day too. And I think, but like even you go back talking about some of those Ohio State connections too. Like it's crazy. Like even looking at how like deep those wide receiver rooms were. Like a guy like Austin Mack, like he had 1,000-yard season up in the CFL,
Yeah.
and he was probably a little bit more buried on that Ohio State wide receiver room. But you just see guys like him. He's done really well. Johnny Dixon did really well in the USFL. I think he retired now though. But
Johnny, he retired. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because he's a really good player too.
I talked to Coach DiFilippo about it, and he said he was so mad that he retired. Because Johnny's a good ball player. I mean, he's smart
He's really
too.
good.
He's as fast as most people, like as a receiver in that level, and then he's so smart. That's the thing that separated him and Terry from most people.
Mhm.
Like Paris had the speed, but then Terry and Johnny were so smart.
Mhm. Well, it's just, and then like even like a guy like Noah Brown that didn't do like as much at Ohio State, but and then he kind of got buried in the NFL for a couple of years. And I'm a big Texans fan. He did really well for us this year too. So
yeah, CJ got to throw him the ball, so that was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Jordan's probably who I talked to the most, Jordan Fuller, and he said, "Dude, just keep plugging away." He said something will happen.
Oh, that guy, he was one of my favorite guys coming out of that draft too. Like he seems like he's just so smart, and he's always kind of like in the right place at the right time. But like he was one of those guys too. It's just like his testing knocked him down. Like so, like people like kind of overreacted to that, and then like he came out as a rookie, pretty much played all year as like a 6th-round draft pick. Oddly enough,
was he the captain his rookie year? Or is that his second year?
Second year probably.
That's like crazy.
Mm-hmm. But he was that infamous Tom Brady pick though too. They were picked on the same pick, so
yeah.
Which most guys can't live up to that hype, but he's done a pretty good job so far.
He's a good ball player. He's smart.
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of got rambling on Ohio State there too. So
you're good.
Is there any? I was just gonna think of how to phrase this too. I know, like obviously, we could go back, to Ohio State days and like that quarterback room and how loaded that was too. Which I think we talked a little bit about the last time. But like for the people that don't know, the quarterbacks that were there with you, there's Joe Burrow, Dwayne Haskins. Was JT Barrett there the 1 year? One of the years, right?
Yes, 1 year.
Yeah. So the first year you were there, I think he was the starter then.
Yeah, he was.
Was that the year he got hurt too?
Yeah, against the team at North.
Mm-hmm. And then what was it? I think it was Tate Martell that was there too, right?
Tate was with us, yeah.
Yeah, the former he was a 5-star, I believe, out of Las Vegas for Bishop Gorman, I think it was, and I think he was on that QB1 show at one point in time too. Unfortunately, his career kind of bounced around a lot and didn't really pan out probably the way him and a lot of people would have hoped.
Yeah, he had the talent for sure.
Mm. But even talking about that, like, what was it like being in a quarterback room like that, and kind of what are the major things that maybe you kind of took away from there? Like at the end of the day, are those still some of the guys that you talk to at all?
Definitely. Yeah. So coming in, I was pretty much like a nobody coming in compared to those guys. So that was like something that was weird coming from high school, like being like the guy in my area to like no one knowing who you were and coming in as a freshman and then trying to earn your place. Being thrown to the wolves like day 3, having to like try to lead a meeting and stuff like that. So that was really tough. Being in the quarterback room with them is great. JT was probably one of the best leaders I know. He's a great leader of men. And then didn't make any mistakes really. He's doing good. He's a coach now for the Lions. And then Joe, obviously, he's doing good. And it was good. It's cool to learn from him because Joe, not necessarily was Joe Burrow that everybody else knows now, but like he was always had some swag to him, but he was more like quiet, laid back, down to earth. So learning from him, he really helped me. And then Dwayne, obviously, he was like my best friend. Lived with him for a little bit, stuff like that. So he was somebody that like took me to the side and like taught me the playbook and super, super down to earth. One of the best people like I knew. And so learning from him and being able to see him grow and be the starter was really cool to see that. That was a cool experience. And then, me and Tate made some mistakes together, and we just had to struggle through our freshman years together and ran a lot together and got there really early for Dom Patrol and stuff like that. So it was a good experience. I loved it. I was the quarterback and Tate played receiver on scout team whenever the quarterback was like a pocket passer, that type of thing. So we loved that. Loved going against the defense together.
Yeah, heck, I think when he was at Miami, they tried to put him at wide receiver a couple times too.
He's actually really good at it because he was a quarterback, so like he was smart. He did really good. But I mean, we had like on the outside, we had like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave like on our scout team, so it was like they were really good too. So it kind of like was hard.
Yeah, well, just speaking of the depth of the wide receiver room, look at what those guys are. What those guys ended up being, and those were on the scout team back then.
Yeah, this is crazy. It was insane.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I know. What was it? I know last time you talked about was it Boogie Knight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Boogie just got the like Rookie of the Year in the X League.
Yeah, that's the one that was over in Japan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever think about having like an opportunity over there at all?
Not really. I kind of seen and like done my research, and like other positions can go over there and come back, but the quarterback position they kind of go over there and get like stuck. So I think my goal is trying to make it to the NFL. I kind of want to stay here and try to do my due diligence with that.
Yeah, because I figure he'd probably be a guy that probably push for you over there.
Oh, he's tried.
Tried. Some of the Twitter clips and him doing pretty well over there, though.
He's doing really good.
I'm trying to remember if I read somewhere if he was coming back stateside and signing with another league, though. But I can't remember the details.
He just signed a contract extension with his team in the X League. I think it's like a 2 or 3 year deal.
Okay. Yeah.
Really good deal. So that's awesome. Proud of him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I have like too many other questions right now. If there's anything else you kind of want to just put out there for people to know just about you in general, if there's anything, I don't even know what else to say really.
No, you're good. Nothing really. Just working for my opportunity. I appreciate you if you guys have been following me, and I'll continue to try to prove you right. I appreciate you guys. You guys are always hyping me up and stuff like that, and I appreciate it. Trying to send my stuff out means a lot to me, seriously.
Yeah, for sure. And just like even anytime any little opportunity comes out, even if we can do a little bit on Twitter and be like, hey, Minnesota Vikings, give this guy a shot, or something like that. That's kind of like what we're all about anyways. But like, at the end of the day, you're a good person, you're a talented player, even off the field, everything you've done with your own degree and everything, you're a really smart individual too. So no matter what happens with football, you have a lot to, fall back on, even if, football ends sooner rather than later. But at the end of the day, we hope that you have a long, successful career, whether that's at the AFL level, whether it's CFL level. Hopefully, at some point in time, you do bounce up to the NFL and get your opportunity there, though.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. But I don't really think I have any more questions here. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they want to throw up in the comments before we get out of here, though. I'll go back and see if there's anything else that we have listed here. I think JC's thrown up a couple things here. Well deserved. You deserve your shot. Super talented, great mindset, and you'll be a great leader for any pro football team. So yeah, just like at the end of, like I say all the time though, it's at the end of the day, you get your opportunity. If you can play, people are going to find you at the end of the day too. And a lot of it's just getting that extra tape out there too, just because it kind of sucks to say, but a lot of people weren't looking at the D2 tape that much, and a lot of guys that I've talked to over the last year or so have been some of them smaller school guys too, and just being able to get your name out there and everything else like that. It's not the easiest, and especially like in your case, like from the quarterback perspective, like some of the guys that I talked to that play like FCS D2 level, well, some of them they kind of popped up at pro days because like the one guy I talked to last year, Cy Barnett, he he ran a sub 4.40 for a wide receiver, and he had like all this athletic testing that really popped up. He's in the XFL now, or well, he got drafted by the XFL. He's in the UFL now. So it's like some of that, like that's the only way that I shouldn't say that's the only way, but like that's something extra that makes them stand out from that perspective. And maybe that's a little bit more difficult from like the quarterback perspective, where you can't, even nowadays, you don't see as much testing for quarterbacks from, like 40 time and all that type of stuff.
Definitely.
It's a little bit harder to quantify that for that position as opposed to some other ones, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And it's one of those things at the quarterback position, no one's going to give you an opportunity unless they see you throw in person. And to be able to get them to give you the opportunities, you have to jump through about 5 people's hoops to get there. And I know it's like a position you can't be wrong on, but my pitch to people is like, you already are looking for a quarterback. There's not many teams with a quarterback that they can count on day in and day out. Why not take a chance? That why stick with the people that have been made you wrong over and over again. That's like the hard thing to get over, which, I mean, that's the selfish side of me, but also at the same time, I know it's their job and it's their families and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day too, certain players are going to get more chances than others. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be like the coach that have been like, well, this guy didn't quite work out over here, but I can be that guy that can fix him. So like, I think there's a lot of coaches that like want to, in a way, be like that one that says, oh, well, I got the most out of this guy because he had this raw potential. Like sometimes it doesn't always work out, but like at the end of the day too, like there's more to the quarterback position than, just kind of that raw talent. You have to be able to throw. Everybody that plays professional football can throw the ball at a high level. But there's all these little other intangibles, whether it's the leadership, the mental side, being able to prepare and kind of just make the most and kind of react to difficult situations too. And not everybody can do all that side. Everybody that's playing professional football can sling the rock.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
And I think, like just in the time that we've talked with you, I think that's one of the things that really stands out about you is, obviously you have the strong arm right away, but you have that mental side, you have that preparation too. So I think, when you ultimately do get your chances, something that you're going to be able to take and run with in a big way.
I appreciate it. Seriously. It's good to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's pretty much what we got right now. I don't think we've seen any other real questions coming in here. I'm going to look back one more time just to make sure we didn't miss anything. If JC sees anything else, I'm sure he'll probably put something there too as well. But once again, definitely do appreciate you coming on. Obviously wish you the best of luck in your AFL opportunity. And then, any other opportunity that does present itself along the way, if anything else majorly changes, you want to stop back on, talk a little bit more, we can definitely do that as well though.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. It means a lot.
And then outside of that is, I know like you're on Twitter, obviously you want to drop your Twitter handle there. I guess they call it X nowadays. I still call it Twitter no matter what. And then if there's any other like place that people should be looking out for you just in general as well.
I'm really on just Twitter. I think like Instagram and Facebook like more for my family and stuff like that. I don't really post on that very much. Twitter's like where I go to if I'm on social media.
Yeah, so definitely be sure to follow Kory on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Obviously, we look forward to what is to come for you. And kind of with that being said, I think that's pretty much what we got to, for today. Obviously, once again, this was brought to you by the Sports Affiliation. Shout out to JC behind the curtain. He is doing a little bit of that production work behind there. He kind of threw this whole layout and everything together, which I do appreciate because, it was a pretty busy day, pretty busy couple days and week for me just in general. Once again, do appreciate you coming on, Kory. And, just the time that you are spending with us in general. And once again, do truly wish you the best and the most with your opportunity that you have coming up. And we'll definitely be following along.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it again.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty much what we got. Everybody else that is out there, do appreciate you watching. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like it, comment, and subscribe over on the YouTube channel as well. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, I think this got streamed on some of the other platforms as well. Definitely be sure to check out the YouTube channel and get subscribed over there as well. But that's all that we do have for tonight. And hopefully that everybody, and I really do hope that everybody else has a great rest of their night as well.